that we have this morning to hear from you. Lord, may you indeed open our ears, open our eyes, teach us to see, teach us to listen. Help us to understand what you would have us to take from your word this morning. Lord, I pray that your Spirit would move, that it would indeed touch our hearts, that it would stir us, that it would challenge us, that it would encourage us to be transformed into your image, to be more and more like you. Lord, just speak through your word, I pray, in your holy name. Amen. So today is Palm Sunday. We're going to be looking at the Easter journey, Jesus' journey to the cross. And as we go through this week, I pray that we will indeed be challenged once again by this familiar story, but that God will speak to us in new and exciting ways as we journey through this week. Through the Gospel of Luke, I would like us to look at Palm Sunday from 3 different perspectives this morning. From the eyes of the crowd of the people that were there, from the eyes of the Pharisees, the religious leaders, and through the eyes of Jesus this morning as we look at this story in Scripture. Palm Sunday, as we all know, is the day that Jesus rides into Jerusalem on a colt. He is the new King of Israel, the awaited Messiah. And as we read through this chapter of Luke, we can see that it is quite an emotional journey. There are highs, there are lows, there is excitement, there is fear. There is the scene at Jesus' triumphal entry when a huge crowd breaks forth in song. And there's the scene where we see Jesus weeping over the city. For those of Jesus' day, this was a time of great uncertainty. The world was in turmoil. There was political troubles. There was religious troubles because of all the new teachings that Jesus was bringing forth. Jesus, though, exercises his power through servanthood and suffering, which was completely different to what the people there at Jesus' time, the way they lived and the way they expected. For some, this was an exciting time as they were expecting the Messiah to arrive. Jesus was fulfilling the prophecy. But for some, Jesus brought physical, emotional, mental, and spiritual healing, which was a wonderful time for these people. For others, however, Jesus was challenging the traditional religious and political rules of the day and caused much confusion. As you ponder this story and the events that led up to this historic event, have you ever considered what impact this event has had on your own spiritual journey? As we once again take this Easter journey, will you celebrate with the crowds? Will you live in fear of what impact this will have on you? Will you allow these events to change you and transform you? Let us look at this story through the eyes of those who witnessed these events. Let's first look at the cheering crowd. We're told at the beginning of this passage this morning that after Jesus had said this, he went on ahead, going up to Jerusalem. As he approached Bethphage and Bethany at the hill called the Mount of Olives, he sent 2 of his disciples, saying to them, "Go to the village ahead of you, and as you enter it, you will find a colt tied there, which no one has ever ridden. Untie it and bring it here. If anyone asks you, 'Why are you untying it?' say, 'The Lord needs it.'" Those who were sent ahead went and found it just as he had told them. And as they were untying the colt, its owner asked them, "Why are you untying the colt?" They replied, "The Lord needs it." They brought it to Jesus, threw their cloaks on the colt, and put Jesus on it. Now this is, sometimes I thought it was an odd way to begin this story, but it really brings out the divinity of Jesus. Because Palm Sunday begins in the Gospel of Luke with Jesus sending out 2 of his disciples on a mission. You will find a colt, untie it and bring it back to me. Now put yourself in the disciples' shoes this morning. Can you imagine being sent out to find a colt that doesn't belong to you and then taking it? Let's look at this in today's world. Can you imagine being sent out to find a car that doesn't belong to you and then driving off with it? What would you do if you saw someone trying to break into your car? The reaction of the man owning the colt has always surprised me. He sees the disciples untying his property and seems to ask rather calmly, "Why are you untying the colt?" You see, if I had witnessed someone taking my car, I'm not even sure that I would approach them for fear of being attacked or retaliated against. And if I was brave enough to question them, I'm not sure that I would be as calm in asking, "Why are you breaking into my car?" But we are told that the disciples simply replied, "The Lord needs it." And this appears to be no problem for the owner of the colt, because the disciples take it and go on their way. And we know that the Bible says that the God is owner of all things. And I believe that God had prepared the heart of this man that the disciples came to get the colt. But the man did question the disciples. Now, if you were questioned with something like this, do you think that you might have been a little anxious at that moment? Would they have questioned Jesus' request in their own hearts, maybe? But I'm sure that this must have been a part of God's plan for them, that Jesus had sent them to get the colt. But we are not told for sure what God's plan is, except that Jesus needed this colt. So the disciples bring back the colt and give it to Jesus, who then rides into town on it. And that's the other thing about this colt. The story tells us that it had never been ridden before. Now, a colt that's never been ridden is not tamed, is not used to having someone sit on its back, but yet Jesus sits on the colt and rides into Jerusalem without any issues that the story tells us. It's amazing how God works and how he puts in plan the things that he needs for his purpose and his glory. Now, Jerusalem, let's look at Jerusalem. It's a busy, lively little town with people coming and going to the temple for worship. Imagine if you were there going about your daily business, keeping to yourself when you notice a large crowd is beginning to form. A crowd of people starts walking past you and you are curious, so you follow along. You make your way to the front of the crowd to see what's going on, and you see the most unusual sight, a man riding on a colt into the city. In Jesus' time, colts were used to transport women, children, the elderly, or the sick, but generally not healthy men. So why was this man riding on a colt? And you hear the crowd shouting around you, "This is the King who comes in the name of the Lord." And you must think to yourself, a king on a colt? Why is he not on a horse or on a chariot? Why a colt? But that was Jesus' way, wasn't it? Jesus was different. Jesus wanted things to be different than what they were. And you hear the crowd beginning to cheer, "Blessed is the King who comes in the name of the Lord." I like how Mark here refers to the Old Testament. He refers to Psalm 118, 26 to 29, which says, "Blessed is he who comes in the name of the Lord. From the house of the Lord we bless you. The Lord is God, and he has made his light shine on us. With boughs in hand, join in the festal procession up to the horns of the altar. You are my God, and I will praise you. You are my God, and I will exalt you. Give thanks to the Lord, for he is good. His love endures forever." It's amazing how these gospel writers bring in the truths of the Old Testament. And the writer of Luke loves to use Old Testament references as well. It's just wonderful. For thousands of years, Israel had been waiting for God to fulfill his promise to King David. And this was the time. With this in mind, it's no wonder that the crowd is so excited, that the crowd is shouting, "Blessed is the name of the Lord, the King who's come." They're excited because They know that the awaited Messiah is coming, or was coming, and he has arrived. So we see that Jesus has come, the new king riding into Jerusalem. It was a joyous occasion. There were cheers. There were shouts. Everyone was happy. Well, not everyone was happy, were they? Because then we see the fearing crowd. Verse 9 of our text says, some of the Pharisees in the crowd said to Jesus, "Teacher, rebuke your disciples." Now the Pharisees were a group of religious leaders with a lot of power, but they were also very fearful of what Jesus represented. You see, the Pharisees' main concern was one of power and control. And John records in his gospel, then the chief priests and the Pharisees called a meeting of the Sanhedrin. "What are we accomplishing?" they asked. "Here is this man performing many signs. If we let him go on like this, everyone will believe him, and then the Romans will come and take away both our temple and our nation." And that's from John 11:47-48. For the Pharisees, Jesus represented a change in tradition, a change in identity, a change in power, a change in the way that they ran church. Notice the word our temple, our nation, our way. The Pharisees wanted to maintain their power and authority in the church. But Jesus challenged them and called into question all that they stood for. The Pharisees were steeped in tradition and did not want to move forward. They were stuck in their ways. They did not want anyone to challenge how they viewed God or how they should connect with him. And a few days later, when Jesus was teaching in the temple, he also quoted from Psalm 118. But it wasn't from the cheerful verses that we read earlier about the coming of the king. Jesus used a more piercing verse to the Pharisees. "The stone the builders rejected has become the cornerstone. The Lord has done this, and it is marvelous in our eyes." You see, the Pharisees also knew the Hebrew Scriptures well, and these words were a challenge to their understanding of God and the law. Jesus' entrance and popularity brought fear to the Pharisees and teachers. Now, the entrance of Jesus into our world presents us with opportunity to celebrate and cheer. He answers our prayers. He saves us from our sins. He renews our life. He provides for us. But he also challenges us. We can all come to God as we are, but we are to go from Christ changed, committed to becoming more like him. Jesus at times disrupts the routine of our lives. He brings change. This made the Pharisees fearful. And it also makes us fearful at times too, because we don't know what God is going to call us to do or what he expects from us. So we've seen this story from the eyes of the cheering crowd. We've seen the fear of the Pharisees. But the last part of our story this morning talks about the tears of Jesus. In Luke 19:41-44 we read, "As he approached Jerusalem and saw the city, he wept over it and said, 'If you, even you, had only known on this day what would bring you peace, but now it is hidden from your eyes. The days will come upon you when your enemies will build an embankment against you and encircle you and hem you in on every side. They will dash you to the ground, you and the children within your walls. They will not leave one stone on another, because you did not recognize the time of God's coming to you.'" Time plays a significant part in the Easter story. When Jesus was on the cross, Scripture records 3 distinct times for us: 9, noon, and 3 p.m. 9 and 3 refer to the morning and evening sacrifice, and noon refers to the time of prayer. Now, throughout the Gospel of John, there are multiple times when people tried to capture Jesus, but they failed. And each time the Bible gives us this explanation: for his time had not yet come. In Galatians 4:4 we read, "But when the set time had fully come, God sent his Son." We get this sense that God is in control, and we know that God is in control. But nothing will happen to Christ until the right time. There was an appointed time for Jesus to arrive as the Savior. There was a time and place for Jesus to take our place and be sacrificed for our sin. When Jesus arrived to the shouts and cheers of the celebration, he paused and looked over the temple. You see, the temple for a lot of people became routine. It wasn't so much about their relationship, their spiritual journey. It was about the routine, the law. And Jesus began to weep over, for the people would not be able to understand God's timing and all that was taking place. Repeatedly, we are told that even the disciples, those closest to Jesus, did not understand all that Jesus had told them, or what all that meant for them and how they were to live their lives. You see, what could have been a time of peace ended up being a time of conflict. The tears that ran down Jesus' face were not caused by sin or disobedience, rebellion, poverty, or sickness, but by people not being able to perceive God's timing and to perceive what that meant for them. God provided his plan for their lives. He provided his plan for our lives. God provided the means for our salvation and provision. But there are many today who still do not recognize him. They do not recognize that the time has come to accept him as Lord. Are there times when God has shown up for you, but you were not able to recognize him? Have there been times when God has interrupted your life? Has God prompted you to do something in prayer that did not fit into your plans? God does that. He shows up many times when we least expect it. And many times we do not recognize him until the time has passed and we look back at his provision and how we've seen the work of his hand in our lives. I wonder this morning, as we go into this Easter season, as we take this journey, are we facing this Easter season with cheer? Are we facing it with fear or tears? What is God asking you to do for him this Easter season? Is he challenging you in the way that you celebrate his sacrifice, his provision for your life? Is he challenging the way you worship, or whether or not you have surrendered to his plan and control for you? Jesus loves us, and he intercedes to the Father for us. So I would challenge you this morning to seek him, to heed his call to you today. Heed his challenge for you. Heed his timing for whatever circumstance or challenge you may be facing, and that we would surrender all that we have to him. We're going to bow in prayer this morning before we sing the chorus. Make me more like thee, Jesus. Make me more like thee. Give me a heart that's full of love, and make me more like thee. Let's bow. Father, as we consider all the emotions of Easter recorded for us, we bring our own emotions and thoughts before you today. Some of us feel excited by your mission. We ask that you would give us opportunity to share the love of Christ with others this week. Others of us might have some fear. We may be facing situations beyond our natural ability to handle. We ask that your peace would guide us at this time. Lord, we thank you for your perfect timing. We know that you are in control, God, and that you have a plan and purpose in every stage of our lives. May we lay aside our plans and open ourselves to where your voice would lead us. May we allow you to set the course and direction for our lives, and help us to walk in step with you, with your love and protection. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.